Okay, so welcome to Supremacy's. Let's take a quick look here. I will share this document with you. Hold on, just 1 second. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this is the king's son who was made of precious stones. Basically, the story, there was once a king who had no children, and he went and engaged with doctors so that his kingdom should not be given over to a stranger. But they didn't help him, so he asked Am Yisrael to the Jews to daven for him, and he told them, listen, the Jews are in my hand to do as I please, and he decreed that they should do that. So the Jews inquired and searched. They prayed for they searched for a tzaddik, and he should have fed for the king to have children. And they inquired and they found a hidden tzaddik, and they told him to pray for the king, and he said he doesn't know anything. And the king told them, so they told it to the king. King sent for him. He was, they sent an order, a summons. He was summoned to the king. The king said, listen, you know very well the Jews are in my hands to do with them as I wish, So before we resort to violence, I make you an offer you can refuse, as they say. I ask you nicely to pray that I have children. And the tzaddik promised the king will have an offspring this year. He went home. The queen gave birth to a daughter. The daughter was beautiful. 4-year-old. She already knew all the wisdom. She could play musical instruments, could speak all the languages. Kings from all the lands came to see her. Afterwards, the king wanted very much to have a son. So again, so that his kingdom would not be transferred to a strange man. Again, he decreed that the Jews should pray for him to have a son. And they went looking for the tzaddik that they found before, but he already passed away. They continued to look for him, and then they found another hidden tzaddik. And they told him the king wants to have a son. And he said again, he doesn't know anything. He told the king summoned him, says, I speak to you nicely, use my hand, etc. So the tzaddik says, but will you be able to do? Can you do what I ordered? He said, yes. He said, I want you to bring all the types of precious stones because each precious stone possesses a unique quality. And the king has a book in which is written all the types of precious stones. The king said, I will spend half my kingdom to have a son. And so the king went and brought him all the types of precious stones, and he pulverized them and put it in a glass of wine, half for the king, half for the queen, let them drink it. And he said they will have a son, and that son will be comprised of precious stones. In other words, you'll have all the qualities of all the precious stones. That's how he went on. And the queen gave birth to a son. The king rejoiced greatly. The son was born, was not made of precious stones. Was 4 years old, extremely handsome, very, very wise, all the wisdoms, all the languages, so forth and so on. Many kings traveled to see him. Now the princess saw that she's not important. She was jealous of him. The only consolation was, Tzaddik said that he would be made completely of precious stones. And that at least did not come true. So, it was like she was consoling herself with that. One day the prince was carving wood and he cut his finger. The princess ran over to bandage his finger. She saw a precious stone there and she became intensely jealous. She feigned sickness. Many doctors came, they couldn't heal her. Then they called sorcerers. So the princess confided in one of them and revealed to him the truth that she was just making herself sick because of her jealousy. And she asked him if he could put a spell on someone to become a leper. And the sorcerer said yes. But what if he gets another sorcerer, to neutralize the spell? So the sorcerer says, yeah, but if the object that was used to cast a spell is thrown into the water, it cannot be neutralized any longer. So this is what she did. She threw the object used to cast a spell into the water. The prince became very leprous, and the leprosy on his nose and his face and all his body. The king engaged in back to the sorcerers, nothing helped. Now the king decreed upon the Jews to pray. They sought above the tzaddik and they brought him again. You notice that here, the same tzaddik was found again. The first one passed away. Now the tzaddik constantly prayed, to Kodesh Baruch Hu, regarding the prince, since he promised that the prince would be made of precious stones, and he was not. And he argued with Kodesh Baruch Hu and says, Kodesh Baruch Hu must be, did I do it for my honor? I did it only for you. Now it has not been fulfilled the way I said. The tzaddik came before the king and he prayed, but he didn't help. Then he was informed from Shemaim that it was sorcery. That's why the tefillah did not work. Now this tzaddik was above all sorcery, and he came and told the king that it was all sorcery that they were dealing with, and the object used to dispel has been thrown to the water, so there's no remedy for the prince unless they throw the sorcerer who cast a spell into the water. The king said, I will give you all the sorcerers to throw him in the water so that my son will be healed. Now the princess got scared. So she ran to the water to pull out the object since she knew where it was. And she fell into the water. A great tumult erupted over the princess falling into the water. The tzaddik then came and said that the prince would be healed, and he was healed, and the leprosy dried up, and all the skin peeled off, and he was made completely of precious stones and possessed all the qualities of all the precious stones, as the tzaddik said. This is the end of the story. That's the entire story from beginning to end. Now, there are obviously many ways to understand what is being referred to here. We have been learning this particular Maisa. Obviously, the king is a Kodesh Baruch Hu, say that. The children that the Kodesh Baruch Hu wants is, as people, is Bnei Yisrael, people with Das. So we the way we learned this Maisa until now was that Taka, we're talking about, the daughter is Jews, tzaddikim, Yerushalayim, Talmidei Chachamim, but they are a bechina of daughters, of female, and not a bechina of male. Now, the difference between a female and a male, that the female is a receiver, and the male is a giver. Any kind of bechina of a giver and a receiver, the giver is always considered the male and the receiver is the female. So here we're talking about Bnei Yisrael, tzaddikim, Yerushalayim, everything else, but their tzidkas, their Yiddishkeit is a female kind of Yiddishkeit. And we spent, Baruch Hashem, quite a few shurim discussing what that meant. We said that when the Yiddishkeit is Bchina's daughter, is the men, I mean the Yidden who are like that, they're Bchina's Pashte Oraisa. Pshat. The entire Torah is B'derech Pshat. In other words, even when they learn Kabbalah, the B'derech Pshat, it's a Yiddishkeit where the Judaism that's the club you belong to. It's a tremendous, fantastic club. But nevertheless, it's a place where you don't belong to. Torah is the thing that you do. It's your thing. And in the whole thing, you remain a receiver. Which means Kodesh Baruch Hu created you. Kodesh Baruch Hu gave you the Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu is still giving you the Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu is giving you everything that you need. And you follow suit and you behave, Baruch Hashem, the way Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted you to behave. You do what you need. We not kindness. Beautiful. The girls was beautiful. Was all the chochmas until she was 4 years old. They say, what does this mean? Dafka 4-year-old. It's about the girl, a 4-year-old. It's about the boy who was 4-year-old. What is this age? What is this 4-year-old? Talking about, all the 4 oilmis, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzir, Asiya. The girl is the Malchus, obviously. It's a shlemus or a penis girl. Now, in order to, the union of a boy is a union of a mashpia. But Baruch Hu wanted that we will be mashpiyim. To understand what this is about, I will repeat something that we learned quite long ago. So, being that we have new faces here, and it's a good thing to be reminded of it. It's a very deep concept of when you're talking about the spiritual realm, there is what they call form and essence. When you're talking about two people physically, one can be next to the other, and then they're close to one another. If one is here, the other one is in America, and then they're considered far from one another. However, mentally, spiritually, it's a philosophy-wise, ashkofa-wise, okay? So, somebody who lives in Lakewood or in Monsey or in Williamsburg is very close to us, hashkofa-wise. We're talking about ruchnius, being close and being far, is not about physical proximity, but what they call shivya natsura. We're talking about the tsura of the davar is the way it was created, talking about hashkofa, the essence of the thing. Here, when people are holding, if you are here and the other person is in, well, it doesn't matter where he is. If you have similar hashkafas to him, that means you're spiritually close to one another. Now, so what we established so far is as follows. Physically, physical proximity is the thing that determines closeness and distance. Spiritually is spiritual proximity or identity or facsimile to one another. This is the thing that creates closeness. And if one person is a communist and the other person is capitalist, I don't know that any communist left in the world, but let's say, then you say they're very far from one another, even though they may be sitting right next to each other. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. So the question was always asked, what is the Baal Sulam asked it specifically? What has been created in the beginning? Being that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absolutely everything. When you're saying created, that means creating something from nothing. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything. There is no nothing. So what was created from something to nothing? Yesh me'ayin. And the answer the Baal Sulam gives is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the will to receive. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not possess the will to receive. There's nobody from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to receive from. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need to receive anything because receiving, per definition, implies a lack. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't lack anything. So the will to receive already, that is the only thing that was actually created from something from nothing. And then that particular will already created all the wherewithal to fulfill that particular will. As they say, where there's a will, there's a way. If, the hardest thing in the world to do is, I don't know, to lift this napkin if you don't want to lift it. You don't want to pick it up, that's the hardest thing in the world to do. In other words, you have to want it. The thing that when you want something, it makes it possible, and the will in itself gives you the ambition. The ambition already, the drive creates the will to fulfill that particular will. That's what we said, the only difference between you and a wealthy person, and between, let's say, a millionaire and a billionaire, is just how much they want it. That's it. There's no other difference. The one who wants it more is the one who has more, because the ratzon, the will, is the keli. That's the vessel into which the shefa comes, the bounty comes. That particular explanation comes on the basic question that the Baal HaSulam poses. So why, when a baby is born, he's born with a Yetzer Hara, and he gets the Yetzer Tov only at age 13. And then you say that he's only Chayav Kapli Shmai when he's 20. Why does the Yetzer Hara needs to have a head start? Isn't he, a handful as is without having this head start? Why give him a head start? So he explained that particular explanation that I just gave you, and he explains as follows. What happens is that when a child is born, the child develops the will to receive. And I want this, I want that. When the child doesn't get it, he's crying, he's throwing a tantrum, and so on and so on. And as the child grows, he develops that will to receive more and more and more. We have to understand the reason for this entire process is because ultimately, Kadosh Baruch Hu is the giver, and we are the receiver. But that means that philosophically, as it were, because spiritually, we are the total opposite of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're as far from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as possible. But that's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted for us to be close to him, not to be far from him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a total giver, and we are total receivers. We're as far from him as possible. Which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Melech, and we are Pchina's daughter, we are a receiver. We do everything the king wants. We're beautiful, we're smart, we're everything, but we are as far from the gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu as possible. So here goes the process where the child grows and develops the will to receive. And as he grows, in the beginning, he just wants a candy, then he grows up, and he wants a scooter, and then he grows up, and he wants this, and he wants a bicycle, and he wants this, and then so on. As things go on and on and on, the child wants more and more and more. He develops the will to receive. The will to receive gets more sophisticated, makes greater. When the child becomes bar mitzvah, then he gets a Yetzer Tov, and he starts learning Torah. Why are you learning Torah? Let's assume that the child is growing in a household that is, Baruch Hashem, emotionally balanced, and they're giving the child the emotional support that he needs, and the father is supporting and the child emotionally, and gives him the opportunity to manifest itself, whatever it is. And child is basically a healthy, a healthy mindset. He gets the Yetzer Tov. So what do you want to do? He wants to learn Torah. still he's doing it for himself. We learn Torah, if I'm going to learn Torah, I'm going to be good. That's what we do. In other words, I'm doing it for myself. And so now the will to receive becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and become more and more sophisticated until the child becomes a grown-up. Now, the whole idea is that from a daughter, the idea that he will become a son. Meaning, when you get to a certain point, Baruch Hu gives you absolutely everything. What you want to do when you are mature spiritually is you want to flip it over and you want to give the Kodesh Baruch Hu somebody to give to. It's not that you want these things for yourself. You don't want even the Torah for yourself. You don't even want the Olam Haba for yourself. Kal v'chomer, you're not looking for Gashmis for yourself. The only reason why you're receiving this is because you want to give the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kodesh Baruch Hu is a giver by nature. Teva tov le'tiv. You want to give the Kodesh Baruch Hu an opportunity to give to someone. Now what happens is that both you and the Kodesh Baruch Hu are both givers. The Kodesh Baruch Hu gives to you, and you give to Kodesh Baruch Hu the opportunity to give, somebody to give to. You're both spiritually identical. You're completely close. This is called Dveikus. This is the king wanted a son. He wanted somebody who will be like him, so that his kingdom will not go to somebody else. Because as long as the creations are receivers that are diametrically opposed in nature to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the one HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted. And that's why, we can understand that there's one way of, whereas the daughter is the way that you are until your age of bar mitzvah, and so forth and so on. And we can also look at it as the daughter is the goyim, the umas olam. Basically, what a goy is about receiving pleasure, receiving wealth, receiving this. Even when they give, this is what they said, chesed lumim chatat. That the chesed that the goyim do, it says, the Gemara says, the Zohar says it says, kol tivu the avdu, all the good that they do, all the things they do, the gamayav, they're doing it for themselves. You'll notice that when they become very wealthy, they're giving the money to poor people in Africa. Why give to poor people in Africa? What happened with poor people in America? No, but in Africa, you can see the real difference between who I am, who is Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Warren Buffett, whatever you want to call him. And the idea is that I am Mr. Wonderful. And these, the Schwarzes over there in Africa, I have an opportunity to bestow upon them and show everybody how marvelous I am. Everything, all the good that they do is the good, and everything they do for themselves. The whole metzias of a goy is to receive. Even when they give, it's in order to receive. It's a very important concept to remember also in relationships. Everybody gives and receives, even more so in business. Every business gives and receives. The question is, when you have a business, what is the difference between a business when you do business b'kedusha or when you do business b'tumah? What's the difference between the two? The difference is when a business is not kosher, is not b'kedusha, the business gives in order to receive. I mean, yeah, he has to give, otherwise he won't receive. But the whole kavona is to get. A business kedusha is, the idea is to receive in order to give. He has to receive, otherwise he can't give. But the whole idea is to give. You go to a business that is run like that. And let's say you have a grocery. It says, well, yeah, what do you want? It says the milk was not fresh. Well, ask some copies. The milk is very fresh. Whatever it is. Maybe you have a receipt. You have a receipt. Maybe you bought it somewhere else. You don't have a receipt. Forget about it. This is a business that gives in order to receive. On the other hand, you have another guy. Give her the milk. What happened? The milk was sour. No problem. Put it in the fridge. Take another one. Isn't tight. No problem. That's a business that receives in order to give. It's a mindset. It's a mindset in relationships as well. It's especially important, for husbands. Are you a husband? Are you a giver? Or are you a receiver? If you are a giver, you have to receive. When your wife cooks for you, she cleans for you, she gives you children, kinanahara, whatever it is. She gives to you, of course. But your essence is really to give her. Because you are a giver. You support her, not just financially, but you support her also emotionally. We said in the shir in the rest of the show that this really comes to the test. We spoke about it many times. And the thing is, we probably can say it, gazillion times, and we need to repeat it again, again, and again, because this is the most easy thing to forget. When this really comes to the test, whether you are a receiver or you're a giver, when your wife digs into you. I mean, all women, especially Jewish women, they do that. And they tell you something that makes you feel absolutely awful about yourself. You feel humiliated, you feel worthless, whatever it is. The question is, are you a giver or are you a receiver? If you're a receiver, you react with anger. Anger is resistance. I don't like it when you treat me that way. I feel whatever it is, and whatever it is, and I come from work and blah, blah, whatever it is. If you're a giver, you just sit there and you listen to her. It makes you feel awful. Okay. Nothing will happen. I'm giving my wife somebody to slam into, to dig into. Now she needs it. She needs it. And don't try to excuse yourself. It won't help. Because the idea is not, women have, like a roundabout way of saying what it is that they actually want to say. They're much smarter than men. If they came to you with A, B, C, D is wrong, and you'd prove that A, B, C, D is right, you know, they are, they go away empty-handed. So they don't do that at all. They come and they blame you on something that has nothing to do with whatever it is that bothers them. They need to settle something within themselves emotionally. We'll learn in the Breslev Yeshua, we learn that this is usually a wife gets upset when the husband looks elsewhere, physically or in his mind. He's looking elsewhere. Suddenly the wife digs into him. But whatever it is, she digs into him. The only thing that you need to do, in order to be a giver, is to be willing to accept, to feel whatever it is you feel about it. You're worthless, you're humiliated, ashamed, whatever, but that's okay. It's no problem. I am her man. I'm committed to her, and I will listen to what she has to say. You'll be totally surprised to find that after the storm is over, your wife is going to be, if you behave that way as a giver, your wife is going to be nicer to you than you ever remember her being. Why? Because you gave her. But if you are a receiver, hey, I don't want to be treated that way. What, you need a husband to dig into? Go look for somebody else. Go fly a kite. The reason why people get divorced, Lorraine, is because everybody wants to be a receiver. The woman is a receiver by nature. Arizal says the women are born perfect. That's why the bracha in the morning, they say, Shasani Kirtzoinen. They made me the way he wants me, the way he wants me. Man is a Pchinas Das, he has to know, what's yes, what's not. He has to got work to do. A woman is perfect. When the husband is also a woman, that's not the idea. That's not what this, I didn't mean that. I made a decision to marry you, but I'm not committed to being your man. So if you become too much trouble, so how about we just, not everybody were meant to be with one another, blah, 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 whatever the name is. And this is how it goes. The tachlis of the whole thing is to be a son, to have a son, to be a son. Now, the son is talking about a son that is made of precious stones. We're talking about all the Yidden. He said the king had a book in which the properties of all the precious stones are written there. That's obviously the Torah Kedusha. Every single letter in the Torah Kedusha is another neshama of another Yid, as a total different property in somebody else. You can't say, there's a lot of people here, there are a lot of Jews here. Okay, there's enough. No, there's no such thing. Because every single Jew is a whole world of its own. It's an incredibly important thing to remember. Rabbeinu told a story forget about when he told the story. The man said that in the morning, you want to be besimcha. So Rabbeinu said that for the very fact alone, Shalosani goy, he didn't make me a goy. That's enough to dance for 80 years. Comes the question, but I didn't do anything for it. Well, why should it make me happy? How would it make me happy? Yeah, I did good, I did bad, whatever it is. Okay, so I feel good about myself. The fact that I was born the way that I was. The thing is that we look at things from the superficial, surface kind of point of view, and that is the fact that you are a Jew. You are already a son that is made of precious stones, and each precious stone has a different quality, has a different property, and you are made out of all of them, but it's covered up the way gems are. Before they're dug up, they look like dirty pebbles until they're polished, until they're cleaned, until they get to then they shine in full brightness. When you look at yourself and you see that you don't measure up, that is because you think that you have a clue of what it means to be a Jew. That you have a clue of what it means to be you. Reb Nosson said he can write 8 volumes of Likutei Halachos, but he can never ever write a pshat of another Jew. What are you? What am I? I'm a Jew. There's no way that I even know what it means. But one thing I already know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created me different than everybody else on earth. Not only we say that, the Goyim say that. The Goyim, in the big scheme of things, are the bat, are the daughter. They're smart, clever, they're rich, whatever, they have everything. But whenever they have a son, whenever there's a son there, there's a Jew there, forget about it. Total jealousy. So as long as the Jews are downtrodden, whatever it is, so okay, they're willing to put up with it. When a Jew is successful and suddenly they see there's a gem there, the jealousy becomes totally unbelievable. And this is who you are. This is who I am. When I am going around, mopping around with downtrodden and depressed and unhappy with the way that I live up to who I think I am, who I think I should be, that means that I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. When I think I have a clue, that means I don't have a clue. What are you talking about? I'm supposed to learn Torah, so I'm making this Vedas, I'm supposed to learn mitzvahs, I'm supposed to learn this, but that, whatever. You're right. But you have a certain image of yourself. And part of that image is that I'm not measuring up. That's way over my pay grade. I mean, I'm supposed to be all these great things, but I'm not, That means that you're not looking, oh, Shalom, Sani Goy. No, Shalom, you didn't make me a Goy. You made me something totally different. I am a son that is made out of precious stones. I'm a letter in the Torah. To the point that I absolutely do not have a clue of my worth, of what I am. Okay, fine. Do you know anybody else who knows what he's worth? Yeah, the tzaddik does, besides him. No, So what am I supposed to do? I don't know what I am. You don't know what you are. He doesn't know what he is. She doesn't know what she is. So what am I supposed to do? So what's the answer? The answer is, remember, whenever it is that the criticism comes up in your mind, that you should have been something else. You should be better, greater, faster, quicker, more handsome, richer, whatever. It's because you forgot the basic fact that you don't have a clue about what you are. Okay, so what should I do? The thing is very simple. Remember when I said what you should do with your wife when your wife digs into you? Just sit there. You don't philosophize, you accept. And you give the ear, right? You're listening to her till she's done. Same thing here. The secret of doing what you need to do as a son that is made of precious stones is just to be. That's it. Just learn Torah as much as you can. Do mitzvahs as much as you can. And rejoice of the fact that you are a Jew. You were not created a goy. Now, you have to understand. Rabbeinu says there's a Maisa, he says that we don't understand what is the value of a spiritual deed that we do here in this world. Rabbeinu says, you flip your hand this way, whole universes go this way. You go this, whole universes go that way. He says, when a person lifts himself, moves himself, an iota, a hairbreadth, spiritually to become better, in the upper realms, in Olam Yisrael, he's running millions of light years. Very interesting, the examples Rabbeinu uses, about a circle, that in the very middle of the circle, two lines are coming from it, and they're very close to one another. And the further they get, the higher they get, the bigger the distance becomes. So the center being, now I'm like this and down like that. Now I'm saying a bracha, with just saying the bracha, put the food in my mouth. And now I'm slowing down and saying a bracha. I'm saying, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, shakol yidbo, whatever the bracha is. What did you do? It's a tiny little movement. Spiritually, you have advanced millions of light years. And even that is not a good enough muscle to what a distance that you have covered. That's a pshat of being a yid. You created that. You made that from the moment go. That you do a little bit of a movement towards good, and you are a totally different being. The way that you get it, the way that you become, that you accept the need to just be, to be present. Being present means that you are here with zero expectations for the next moment. You don't expect to feel better the next moment. You don't expect that this will be or that will be. Your hope is at Hashem, but die. You daven for things to be better, whatever, but you say, I don't know. Whatever is the Kodesh Baruch Hu does, it's okay. It's good. It's not stoicism. It's not apathy. It's emunah. Emunah in what? Emunah that I don't know what an incredible thing I am. I'm a Jew. I make a bracha b'shem shelo asani goy. And there's nothing in the world that I can do that can be greater than the fact that I am not a goy. I can be talented or not. I can be smart or stupid. I can be handsome or ugly. I can be rich or poor or whatever you want. I can be a tzaddik, chas v'chalila, or a rasha. Even there, it's nothing compared to being a Jew or a non-Jew. That's the reason, of course, that this fatuous argument that they have about who is a Jew and how the gerus is gonna be conducted, whatever it is, it's a shtusim. Somebody to be a Jew has nothing to do with whether Beis Din says that he's a Jew or not. Somebody is a Jew when he or she gets a neshama. They get a neshama, they're a Jew. No Beis Din can take it away or give it. I mean, yeah, of course they can give it because Beis Din needs to do that. But a fake Beis Din, a fake conversion has zero meaning. Because it's not about what you're considered, it's about what you really are. And what you are is, there's no way to possibly to estimate the difference between being a goy and being what you are. The way to internalize it, agree. Simplicity. Or I'm not the way I'm supposed to be. I'm not the okay. I am who I am. I am the way I am, whatever it is. I'll try to do better. Try to be b'simcha, mitzvahs, learn Torah. Ad kan bezat Hashem. So Mitzvah Hashem Wednesday, we are learning Torah Chaf Beis here on Zoom. Thursday Mitzvah Hashem, we're learning in the Breast of the Shul, Torah Lamed Daled. Mitzvah Shabbos, Baal Shem Tov, Sichas Aran. Thank you very much for coming here tonight.